Hi, how are you, Mel?
I'm fine, Kira. Thanks for inviting us onto this Zoom today.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. It's great having you here. I'm really excited to catch up with you and congratulations on becoming a gold partner. That's such good news.
Yeah, no, I find I keep pinching myself. I don't, it's been 4 years. I think it is 4 years since I started on the sort of the Rocket Spark road. So yeah, it didn't happen overnight, but yeah, reaching 50 is quite an achievement, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a massive achievement. And yeah, the whole team's really proud of you and just so excited. It's really cool. So yeah, just wanted to catch up with you. So anyone who's watching at the moment, Mel is from the UK and her business is Our Marketing Solutions. So just to kick us off, Mel, if you would, can you just tell me a little bit about your business and how and when it came about?
Yes, so our marketing solutions started in 2016 when I used to work for an accountancy practice and we were on a Zero Roadshow. And that's how I was introduced to the guys from Rocket Spark.
Hmm.
And my then boss had decided to design his website using Rocket Spark. So I was on the phone quite a lot to the support team to find out, what I needed to do, etc. And I really enjoyed the experience. My background was always in marketing, customer service,
Hmm.
things like that. So it was a completely sort of, to be honest, I approached it quite, I was a bit cautious because I thought, oh, I'm not sure if I'm up to this, but the team at Rockspot were really good. So anyway, fast forward probably a year and a half from that, and it was 2016,
Hmm.
and my daughter was 9 then, and I decided that she spent most of the 6 weeks holidays that when she was off school sat behind my desk at work because I just didn't have the childcare, and it was pretty soul destroying sort of for anyone who's a parent to take the child to work, especially at that age. They should be out playing. So anyway, I'd decided, right, that's it. Anything's better than this. I'm going to put my notes in. I'm going to spend some time with my family. And it was at that point that my boss had said, well, why don't you set up on your own and, start Mel's Marketing? And I just sort of like laughed a little bit, but I thought, actually, it's not a bad idea.
That's really
And
cool that
I
you
got in touch with,
that's awesome that your boss encouraged you to do that. How cool was that?
I, I know. Well, Elm Marketing is an anagram of like Mel, because I couldn't think of what to call myself. So it was just, let's have a play on letters here.
Yeah.
So yeah, Elm Marketing it is Mel's Marketing. Um, but yeah, so I got in touch with it was David Micklewood at the time. He was a UK sort of contact, and I told him what I was doing. I said, but I'm going to I'm going to leave the accountancy practice, but I'm going to create my website using Rocket Spark. And he went, oh, cool, thanks for letting us know. And then he got in touch and he said, well, why don't you consider becoming a Rocket Spark design partner? And the thought had never crossed my mind.
Mm.
Um, so David gave us some support and help, and Greg at the time, he's hopping on calls at like 11 o'clock at night your time, no, my time. So your time was probably about 12 lunchtime, something like that. And then I got my website launched, and then I started on some of my clients' websites, and it sort of all trundled on from there really. But my core services is offer social media support, website design, and general marketing support for small businesses who can't afford to have a full-blown marketing department. They can just call
Mm.
upon my help as and when they need me.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's our marketing.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. So what was that like for you, sort of, coming from a marketing background and then going into, coming into being a designer, so you've got that marketing background rather than the design background. What was the experience like?
It wasn't too bad, to be honest. I'm a creative person. My mum, although she wasn't a sort of recognized artist, she loved art. She loved her creativity came out, and so she was a seamstress. She loved to sew, and I did too. My brother is a photographer. He's an award-winning photographer in the UK, I've got a sister who's a hairdresser, so we've all got these creative outlets.
Mm.
And I guess, you know, I just found mine through designing beautiful websites. You know, I'm quite particular about the way they need to look and feel, and the functionality of them.
Yeah.
But you know, I like art, and I love, I sew myself as well. And you know, to me, the design aspect of a website so it's just another creative outlet for me.
That's awesome. So you've got kind of creativity in your genes. That's so cool.
Yeah, exactly. My family on my mother's side have all been very creative. And it's just nice to, you know, for me to find my creative outlet and be able to use it in everyday work, really.
Yeah, that's cool. Awesome. So can you tell me a little bit about how from that beginning, how your business has grown to now?
Oh, the first couple of years it was pretty slow. I mean, I'm saying pretty slow. We had a few clients, and they were loyal clients and the reoccurring clients. So I decided, you know, going from a full-time paid job to being self-employed is a pretty big leap of faith. So I pretty much knew from working in an accountancy background that I needed to structure my business so I had sort of different revenue streams. So I knew if I set up my social media side, that would be a reoccurring income. My websites were classed as projects, and then I've got other clients who pay for me ad hoc for marketing support within their business. So I always knew that I needed a few different streams of income. So if the website side went a bit quiet, I had the social media side ticking along quite nicely. So the first couple of years, it was just, you know, networking. I networked loads. I've tapped into a really cool bunch in the northeast of England called Do Business Network, or DBN as we call them. And they are a networking group, but they're just such a rich referral source group. We spend time getting to know each other and each other's business, because we appreciate we can't necessarily buy from each other all the time, but it's nice to know what each other do, so we have no problems referring to each other. So yeah, I think the first couple of years it was getting to know my clients better, and getting to sort of understanding the services that they need. And at first I was like, you know, if anyone had said to me, can you do this, can you do that, I was like, yeah, of course I can do it. And then after a year I thought, no, come on, Melanie, you need to strip this back and concentrate on the bits that A, you're really good at, and B, you really enjoy doing, because then that'll just take all the effort out of it. So I did. But funny enough, website design was never part of my strategy, because it was just, you know, something that David had mentioned. But I did enjoy doing it for the accountancy practice that I was at. However, I would say the website design now is, I was going to say, about 90% of my business. And you know, a lot of web designers out there, I'll probably say the same. The last 12 months has seen, or I've seen like a huge increase in business, because everyone's scrambling to get online due to the pandemic.
Yeah.
So I would say last year, sort of 2019 to 2020, it saw steady growth. But this year it just went, yeah, it was. So now I'm concentrating on stabilizing my business so that I don't topple over. And because I've got the gold is a sole trader in a one-man band. I've got no one helping me, so I've actually created the 50 websites on my own.
Yeah, wow, that's amazing.
So going for platinum, I'm hoping to. I'm looking at employing someone else this year. I think it's about time I start and scale my business if I'm wanting to keep that growth going.
Yeah, that's really cool. That's awesome news. Yeah, cool. Well, you just kind of touched on my next question a little bit, but I wanted to ask you about, obviously you're in the UK. Lockdown's been a lot different for you guys than it has for us over here. I just sort of wanted to ask on a business level and on a personal level, how that's impacted your life. Yeah.
Well, on a personal level, I actually had COVID in October.
Wow.
So I part time. Well, I look after my gran. Between me and my aunt, we both sort of take turns in making sure that she's all right. And I hadn't heard from her for a while, and I got a bit worried, and I couldn't get in touch with her. So I drove over to see her. She's about probably 3 miles from where I live,
Mhm.
and I let myself in, and I found her on the kitchen floor, and she'd been there all for 10 hours during the night, and bless her, she was in the right state. So I called an ambulance and we got her into hospital. But when is a matter of precaution, they always obviously do a COVID test if you go into hospital, and it turns out she'd got COVID. Now we don't, well, I've got an idea of where she got it from, but because I'd spent time with her waiting for the ambulance, I caught it as well. I had a mask on, I had my PPE on, but I'd caught it. And when I came home, my daughter caught it as well. So the only one who didn't was my husband. Luckily, it was quite. It was it didn't really affect us. We lost our taste and smell, but other than that, we got over it. And luckily, I mean, my grand's 91 and she bounced back. But I am aware of a couple of people recently whose one's an extended family member and another one's my best friend's mum. Unfortunately, didn't make it, and they recently passed away. So
Really
it's
sorry to hear that.
yeah, we've really been in the eye of the storm here in the UK, which such a small country in
Yeah.
comparison to most out there. But yeah, we've certainly felt it. It's hit hard in the northeast. But on a business level, there's been so much support in the UK in terms of supporting businesses who need to obviously furlough the staff and things like that. But here in the northeast, there's been a lot of money pumped into the local economy to help fund website projects, getting your business sort of up to date digitally so you can trade online, e-commerce, etc.
Yeah.
So we do have like quite a lot of government grant schemes where businesses can apply for a grant if they haven't got an online presence, and they could get it part funded by the government.
Right.
So yeah, so I became a provider for some of these grant providers. And so some of my clients, when they've approached me and said, I'm really struggling to fund this, I've then pointed them in the direction to say, well, listen, let's see if we can, put a plan together and get you some funding towards it. So that's certainly helped. So it's sort of like bittersweet. So on one side of things, I know people who've really, it's been affected by COVID, myself included, obviously in my immediate family. But on the other side of things, as far as my business is concerned, it's actually it's been booming for the website industry. But some of my clients who are not in that industry and who are in, say, food and drink or leisure, it's been really hard, really, really tough for them. So some of my clients have actually offered to do a bit of free social media to help them, keep on ticking along where I can. Whenever I've got time, I will offer to give them a helping hand, just to help them stay afloat.
Yeah.
So
Wow. Mel, that's awesome. I mean, what an inspiration you are. That's really cool. I'm really like, oh, that's hard to hear, because I mean, I feel like we just don't know. But you, firsthand, everything. That's amazing. You're incredible. Thank you.
Yeah, I think Jason, I spoke to Jason not long ago, and he said I was the first person he personally knows who had COVID. So, but over here, I think one in every other person I speak to in the street who's actually had it. So it's completely different.
That's different. Yeah, totally. Thanks so much for sharing that with me. That's incredible. Can I ask you as well what just coming back a little bit to your business, what type of projects are your favorite to work on?
Oh, do you know what? That's a bit of question, because funny enough, out of all the 50 websites that I've done, can you believe I haven't done two the same? I
Yeah.
haven't, haven't, I haven't come across two businesses the same. So, um, it's you know, I haven't done it on purpose. It's just the way it's happened. So, have I got a favorite? It's like being asked if could I pick a favorite out of all my children.
Yeah. No, that's
What I will say is I've got a couple of projects on the go now. One's for an artist, and she's a wildlife artist. And funny enough, she was born in, I think she was, yeah, she was born in Perth in Australia.
Mhm.
And but our family was from the UK originally. And so she, in our later years, moved back to the UK, and she lives up in Northumberland, and she's a wildlife artist. But anyway, some of her um, drawings and paintings that are just absolutely amazing. So I'm really excited at how that one's panning out. It's an e-commerce site, so she's selling prints online. The other one is for an accountancy practice, because again, of all the different websites that I've done, I haven't actually, and from an accountancy background as well, you
Yeah.
know, because I worked for accountants for about 16 years in total. So yeah, so I'm on working on one now, and I'm really excited. I'm combining the like video and parallax scrolling and things like that. But yeah, it just sort of for ages I just thought, you know, I've jinxed this because I come from an accountancy background, and so you
Yeah.
know, perhaps it's just me trying to like nothing against accountants, but you know, when you work there for 16 years, you know, there's only so many times you can sell a tax return, isn't it? It's like, it's not
Yeah.
exactly a sexy subject, is it? So I thought, well, if I can sell tax returns, and perhaps, you know, I can be all right at marketing myself.
Yeah, that's
But
cool.
yeah, I'm excited at how that one's. I'm really enjoying it because it's been so long. I've sort of been in that accountancy mindset. So
Yeah.
I'll send you the link
Yeah,
once it's
please
live.
do. No, it's awesome. It's really cool to see your passion too when you talk about your projects. That's really awesome. Well, thanks so much,
Yeah.
Mel. That's kind of all I had to ask you today. So thank you so much for joining me. And yeah, look forward to seeing those websites come about.
Thanks very much for having us, and take care. Hope to see you again soon.
Yeah, you too. See ya.